Hi, and welcome back to the Just One More Stitch podcast. My name is Tiffany, and I am the knitter, maker, crocheter, doer of all of the things behind this podcast. And I thought that we would do a pattern roundup. And today I did a pattern roundup for worsted weight patterns that are free, but I wanted to choose patterns that were going to help you to be able to level up your knitting skills. So each one of these patterns has got something different in it in order for you to be able to learn a new skill, practice a skill. I'm really excited about this bundle. And I got the idea because I am actually working on one of my fall/winter knitting projects. And this is the second one. I am working on the Grabo faux turtleneck cowl, and this is actually my third one. I have one completed that you guys will see in another video, one that is on the needles, and I have also started this one, which was not planned, but I found another skein of worsted weight yarn. How crazy is that? This is a Sin City Knits, one of her roll the dice worsted weights. And I was like, oh, well, let me just use this one up too. And if I decide that it's too bright for me, I can always give it to one of the kids or donate it. But while I was working on it, I decided that, let's do a worsted weight bundle because this is a worsted weight yarn. And here we are. First, let's talk about what I'm wearing. This is from an MCal from 2019. And this is called the Hint of Autumn wrap, and I'm kind of all wrapped up. And the yarn that I used is by a yarn dyer on Etsy. She's on Etsy, but I checked her store this afternoon and there's no yarn in her shop, so I don't think she dyes anymore. And it was Whip Yarns, and this was the Hint of Autumn MCal bundle. And it has these neat leaf designs in it. And this was probably my 5th or 6th shawl that I made. This pattern used, I believe it was four colors, but for some reason I think there was a brown in the picture, but I think I decided not to use the brown. I think the brown was for the scalloped edge. But instead of using the brown, I went with that same pumpkin-y color that's right there. And I will leave a link to this pattern. It's a Ravelry pattern. I looked today and it was like $7.50. I will leave a link to it on Ravelry for you if you would like to give it a try. It was a super fun knit. This is actually a project on my project page on Ravelry. I started it in August and finished it in October. And I do remember that I super enjoyed knitting it. So I definitely recommend. In fact, I think I wouldn't mind making this again, but like in winter, like maybe in winter blues, that could be kind of nice. Or shades of whites and tans and oats. That might be kind of cool too. Anyway, so that's what I'm wearing today. All right, so I have some notes down here. So if you see me looking down, I've got notes and I have my tablet so I can see what you can see. All right, so I have 15 patterns in this bundle. They range from accessories to garments to home, and there's a little bit of everything in here. And the chickadees are singing outside my window, so if you can hear them, I apologize. So yeah, the patterns range from apparel to accessories to home. There's some big projects in here, there's some little projects in here, but you're definitely going to learn something from every single one of these patterns. And with that, let's get right into it. The first pattern is going to be the Brioche starter hat, and this is a pattern by Raina K. It was released in March of 2020, and this pattern, all of these obviously use worsted weight yarn, so I'm not going to repeat that for everyone. The needles that you will need are the 3mm and a 3.5mm. No additional tools were needed for this one. There are for some of the other patterns, so notions, none needed for this one. This one is knit in the round, and you will learn to do 2-color brioche, and you will learn how to do decreases in brioche, which is why I used this specific picture so you can see the decreases on the top of the hat. I have only ever made one brioche pattern, and it was the Valen cowl, and it used to be on my Ravelry project page, but I think I took it down. I didn't like it. But it's something that I definitely need to get more into. I recently saw somebody had done a video and they had a 1-color brioche pattern in their roundup, and I was like, oh, maybe I would like 1-color brioche more. I don't know, so I digress. 2-color brioche and decreases in brioche is what you will get from this pattern. And it's not like you're doing this massive commitment of let me go off and make a whole entire brioche sweater. It's just a hat, and because it's a hat, it's really forgiving. It's not going to be the end of the world if you miss a yarn over or you grab the wrong color at some point. It's a hat. It's going to be really forgiving. So this was the first one. I also thought that this would be great because it's one that you can go through your stash, and if you have 2 skeins of worsted weight yarn that you have no idea what to do with, you can always do 2-color brioche. And the cool thing about brioche is that what's going on one side is reversed on the other side. So if you make this hat long enough and then you fold it up the rim, you'd kind of have both things going on at the same time. So I thought that that was pretty cool. I think that's all I have to say about this one. So that's the very first pattern, and I actually have this printed out, and I think that it's something that I'm going to give a try with some leftover worsted weight yarn that I have hanging around. All right, pattern number 2 is going to be the weekend tote, and this pattern was designed by Aubrey Baumgartner, and it was designed for Pearl Soho, and it was released in May of 2025. And this is going to be one that you're not going to want to use wool for. You're going to want to use cotton or linen or a blend, bamboo maybe, hemp, something like that, but definitely not wool, because if you get it dirty, washing it could be a bit of an adventure. For this pattern, you are going to need a US size 5, which is a 3.75mm knitting needle. Worsted weight yarn, obviously. For this one, there are notions. You will need a stitch marker, and you will need a stitch holder or some spare yarn that you can put the stitches on for the straps for later on. And the construction of this one, you begin flat with a garter stitch panel for the bottom, and then you pick up the stitches around and you knit in the round, and you've got some increases. So this pattern will teach you how to do garter stitch. It will teach you how to pick up stitches. It will teach you how to knit in the round, how to increase in the round. Then you are going to do some shaping for the straps. So you're going to have some decreasing. So you're going to get to practice that. And the handles are done in Kitchener stitch. You might want to maybe try the 3-needle bind off, because I did notice that some people in the comments said that when they did the Kitchener stitch for the straps joining them, they felt that it was kind of flimsy. But I feel like if you did a 3-needle bind off, yet another skill learned, would probably be better for you to give it more sturdy. It's going to give you a textured ridge also on the handle, but I think it'll be a nice accent detail. So that's an idea as well. So I thought that this was going to be a great option for you to learn some different skills, and this is a great beginner project as well. I would definitely recommend this one as for a beginner. All of these patterns, just to say, are either going to be beginner, advanced beginner, or intermediate, I would say, but none of them are going to be insanely super hard. Okay, pattern number 3 is going to be the Chelsea cardigan. I think this is so cute, and I think I'm actually going to knit one of these for my youngest daughter for Christmas, because all of her tops that she wears are cropped, She loves cardigans, and she especially loves cropped cardigans, and this one ticks all of those boxes. This pattern was released in September of 2025, so just last month. The designer is Alita Vardag, and you are going to need a US size 4 and a US size 8 knitting needle in order to knit this particular project. The construction for this is going to be knit top down in 4x1 rib. You're also going to have a button band, which you're going to pick up the stitches for later. The notions for this are just that you're going to need buttons and a tapestry needle. This pattern is a size inclusive pattern. That is something that I forgot to say. I did try to choose all size inclusive patterns as well when it came to apparel. So as a garment, you're going to need between 897 and 1,837 yards, depending on the size. And the skills that you will use in this one include ribbing, increasing, decreasing, buttonholes, picking up, V-neck shaping. You've got the knit two together, which is going to be a right leaning decrease, the SSK, which is a left leaning decrease, a make one right and a make one left, which are left and right leaning increases. And then you're also going to learn how to do those increases on a purl row as well as a knit row. And it can be kind of fiddly doing the make one left and the make one right on the purl row, but this has got raglan increases in it, so that'll be a great opportunity for you to strengthen that skill set. And then because it's cropped and because it's worsted, this should in theory be a pretty quick knit. So this is definitely one that I feel it would be a very good beginner friendly piece. All right, next on the list is going to be the Honeycomb Aran sweater by Gail Bond. I know this looks intimidating. This sort of makes me think of Sari Nordland's bookshelf cardigan, but a toned down version of it. And I chose this pattern because, well, a lot of reasons, but first let me tell you what you need. This pattern was written in 2014. You're going to need a US size 6 and a US size 8 knitting needle. So this is going to be a pretty quick knit between the needle size and the worsted weight yarn. The construction is knit bottom up. So it's going to be kind of different than the Chelsea cardigan, which is knit top down. So you're going to learn how to knit a garment from the bottom up. So that'll be a new skill. This has got raglan shaping, but because it's from the bottom up, it'll be raglans in reverse. So you'll get to learn a different way to make the raglans. It's got a crew neck, so the stitches are going to be picked up around the neck. And the knitting stitches that you will learn are the honeycomb, there are some twisted stitches, and there are left and right leaning cables, 8 of them total. I actually pulled up the pattern and I looked at it. The notions that you need for this pattern, aside from your knitting needles, will be a cable needle, or I just use a DPN, a small DPN, because I can just slide it to the other end and then I can knit right off of that instead of trying to fidget with the cable needle. And this one is actually not that scary in the grand scheme of things. I went and I looked at it and it's actually knit in pieces. And I think that because of the needle size and the weight of the yarn, that this actually would not take that long to knit. This is also a size inclusive pattern. It goes from extra small all the way to a 5XL. The other reason that I chose this pattern is because it was a gender neutral pattern. So it's one that you could knit for yourself, you could knit for your husband, your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle, your niece, your cousin, whatever. It's not made for either men or women. There's no funky shaping in either of those directions. So I thought that that was a great win. All right, next on the list is going to be the Vardag pullover. And I think that this one is so pretty. It's got a lot of different details to the garment. It's not just a straight line. It's got this nice little split in the hem and this nice detailing of a braid on the shoulder. I hear the sand cranes outside now. By all the animals, you wouldn't think that I live in the suburbs, but I totally live in the suburbs. This pattern was written by, I'm not going to try to pronounce that because I don't want to mess it up. So there it is on the screen. And it was released in November of 2020. You are going to need a size 8 and a size 4 knitting needle. It uses 787 to 1,378 yards of yarn, depending on the size you make. It ranges from an extra, extra small all the way up to a 4XL, so definitely size inclusive. And this pattern is going to teach you a unique ribbing stitch called the Brioche tucked stitch, which is made by making a yarn over, slip one, purlwise, purl one on the right side of your work. And then you're going to do purl the next stitch together with a yarn over, knit one on the right side of the work, and that's going to create the Brioche tuck stitch. You will also have make one right and make one left increases. The braid, you start with the braid because it's knit top down, and you start with what is called a Vickle braid at the shoulder. The sweater is also knit in pieces, so I thought that that was good, and you will have to pick up for the drop shoulder. So you'll learn how to do a drop shoulder, whereas with the other patterns that I presented, they had raglan increases. This one's gonna have a drop shoulder. So I thought that that was great. This pattern is written, not charted, so it's spelled out for you step by step. And then because the garment is knit in pieces, you're not stuck having to have so much going on at your needles at one time. And then you're also going to learn how to seam the pieces, which I thought was great. Yet another skill. I think that's all I have to say about this one. This is definitely another one that I think I could see myself making for one of my girls. Next up is going to be something smaller and simpler, but no shortage of skill learned. This is going to be the March hat, and this was written by Megan Babin, and it was part of her Year of Hats series that she did. The pattern was written in March of 2019. You will need a US size 3, a US size 5, and a US size 7 needle, and you will need 220 yards, which is essentially one skein of Cascade 220 yarn. The stitch that you will learn on this one is called the seersucker stitch, and I thought that this was a really cool stitch. It's super stretchy, so you're not gonna have to worry too much about as you're doing the stitch if your knitting is too tight as you're learning the stitch, because this is something that stretches a whole lot. The notions that you will need for this one will be a USG size 4mm crochet hook, some scrap yarn, stitch markers, and a tapestry needle. This hat is knit from the bottom up in the round, and it includes charted and written patterns. The skills that you will learn for this one are the provisional cast on, a tubular cast on, ribbing, and the textured stitch, which is the seersucker stitch. This hat comes in 2 sizes, and you start off by casting on either 108 or 120 stitches, and the seersucker stitch repeat is 8 rows. So you can just sit down, knock out 8 rounds. Okay, you can take a break, set it down, set aside, carry on to something else, and then come back to it, and it's going to be really forgiving. So that is pattern number 6. Pattern number 7. I'm super excited about these, and I'm actually going to make them. These are the coffee bean socks, and coffee bean socks were written by Kelly Reedy. She recommended using Knit Picks wool of the Andes, and I actually had some in stash, so I was like, perfect, fabulous, great, we're gonna make these. They are knit on a US 4, which is a 3.5mm needle, and you will need between 200 and 300 yards. It comes in 3 sizes, small, medium, and large. And the pattern is on her blog. That's why it's a free pattern. So I just went onto the blog and created my own PDF of the pattern. And I am going to use the wool of the Andes in this color called Camel Heather. And I have, each skein is 110 yards. So it says you need between 200 and 300 yards. So between having 2 skeins, I should be able to get a pair. pair of socks out of these. So if you're curious about whether or not I actually knit some of these patterns that I recommend, or crochet as the case may be, I absolutely do. I'm always on the lookout for something new that I can learn. And I'm also trying to knit from stash, so this was a great way for me to do that. Let's see, what else can I tell you? This pattern was written in 2022. I'm not sure if I mentioned that. These socks are knit cuff down. They have a heel flap and gusset, and the toe is joined with the Kitchener stitch. I will also leave a link down below in this video description for the Fletchley bind off, which is easier to remember and fewer steps than the Kitchener. And it's unique in how it's done because you turn your knitting inside out and then you do the bind off with your tapestry needle, and then when you turn the sock right side out, the toe is grafted and it's still knit stitch, and it's about 2 steps less than the Kitchener, and you don't have to try to remember where the heck you were in the process. I don't Kitchener anything. If I can do the Fletchley bind off, then that's what I do, so I highly recommend that. And the other skill that you will learn is the coffee bean stitch, but I think that's because that's literally what the designer named the stitch. It's not a standard stitch. And these are going to be a thicker sock, so they're going to be perfect for inside your boots or your wellies or house slippers or bed socks. So they're going to be perfect for any of those types of things. And as you can see, they're going on my needles for part of my Socktober, actually. Next up is going to be the Warm Greetings Hot Water Bottle Cozy. And if you've seen any of my other pattern roundups, you know that I always try to include one hot water bottle cozy, and this one is no exception. This pattern was written by Sung Hee Park, February of 2023. You are going to need a US size 8 5mm knitting needle in order to make this one. And this fits a standard hot water bottle, and it is knit flat and then seamed. You will need your hot water bottle, obviously, a cable needle or a DPN, 6 stitch markers, and a tapestry needle. This one you're going to learn cables. It's got knit, it's got purls, it's got cable 4 left, cable 4 right pattern, if I remember correctly. So I figured hot water bottle cover, there's got to be one in every one of the roundups, so there it is. All right, pattern number 9 is going to be something for the home, and this is going to be the double thick pot holder, and this is a pattern written by Daniela Taylor, and it was released for Pearl Soho in July of 2022. You are going to need a US size 6 4mm knitting needle, and your only other notion is going to be a stitch marker and a tapestry needle. And this one is knit flat, and it is finished with a 3 needle bind off. And I actually have made some of these, and I think I have some in the kitchen still. If I do, I'll pop up a picture somewhere up here. One of my daughters is really rough on my kitchen, and my pot holders kind of go through a lot. So I don't know if I actually have any left that are shareable in the kitchen, but we'll see. This pattern is going to teach you, like I said, to knit and to purl, and the main skill that you're going to learn in this one is the 3 needle bind off, which gives you that neat seamed edge down the center. The 3 needle bind off is a really neat technique whenever you have to join things together to always get that raised texture. And it's a great skill to have in your repertoire. It looks like the handle might actually be I-cord as well. Possibly. Could be. I'm not sure. I know on mine, I always do an I-cord bind off. Not the I-cord bind off. I always do an I-cord for the loop. And if you don't know what an I-cord is, that's where you have a certain number of stitches, 3, 4, 5, or 6, and you knit on a double pointed needle. And you'll knit those 6 stitches, then you'll shove the needle back to the beginning and knit again. You never turn your work, and wrapping the yarn around that needle to constantly do the row creates a tube. and that tube can then be joined at the other end, and that's normally how you get your loop for pot holders or hanging baskets that people crochet a lot. It's done with an I-cord. So I thought that I would throw this one in here because you'll learn how to do the 3 needle bind off. These also would make a great housewarming gift or a Christmas gift or a gift for teachers, for example, because they could also not just be used as a pot holder, but they can also be used as like a mug mat on a desk or something like that. Next up on the list is pattern number 10, and I have knit these, and I don't have any here because I knit them and I donate them. And this is the Italian summer scarf, and this is a pattern designed by a designer called An Italian Knitter. That's literally their name on Ravelry. This pattern was released in 2023. You will need a US size 6 knitting needle and roughly 241 yards. The pattern is written for one size, but this is a completely customizable pattern. You can make it to whatever length or width you want just by adding multiple stitches. And I thought that this would be a great one because it is knit flat, it's garter stitch, and it has yarn overs. So if you're thinking about trying lace, but you're not quite sure where to start, garter stitch with yarn overs is literally lace 101. Because your lace, in order to get those holes, the eyelets are what they're called. In order to get the eyelets, it's created with the yarn overs. And for somebody that's never knit lace before, when you have to purl back on that row, you might drop those yarn overs and not knit them, and then you end up with missing stitches. So this is a great way to learn and practice. And because the yarn overs are lined up in straight rows, you'll know right away whether or not you've missed one or not. This is a pattern that works great in cotton, linen, bamboo, wool, merino. I've seen some that have been done in silks or silk cashmere blends, and they're all really, really pretty. I know that it's called an Italian summer scarf, but it works great in all mediums. I've made it in everything from acrylic to a cashmere silk blend with mohair, and I gifted that one. That one was not a donation. So this is a great one if you want something that's a quick knit, if you want something that doesn't require a lot of brain power, you just want something that you can just have your hands going on. And then if you're new to lace, this might be one that you would want to try. All right, pattern number 11 is going to be the Barley worsted weight hat by Tin Can Knits. And Tin Can Knits is an absolutely amazing designer because she has written so many different series that are solely geared towards people that are new to knitting, that have never done it before. So if you're a crocheter or you do embroidery or you're a sewist and you want to dip your toe in knitting, check out Tin Can Knits patterns. She even has a set that she came out with a couple of years ago, and it's called A Simple Brew, I believe is what it's called. I'll try to remember to put its name down here. And it is literally her entire recipe concept for creating sweaters. And she is one of the reasons that I got into sweater knitting, because she made it really approachable. Anyway, back to this pattern. This is the Barley worsted hat. This is a pattern written in 2013, and you will need 2 needles, a US size 6 and a US size 8. You will need between 60 and 170 yards of yarn, depending on the size that you're going to make. All of her patterns are size inclusive to the best of my knowledge, and this one is no different. The hat is made for a size newborn to an adult size large. And in this pattern, you will learn how to knit and how to purl and how to put stitch panels inside your work. So you'll kind of get a feel for what that's like. And she actually, the Simple collection is a whole line like that. There's the Rye socks. I think that there's a sweater called Harvest. Yeah, she's got a couple of different things, and they're all the same thing. They're some form of knitting with a garter panel in them. Hats, socks, I believe there's mittens also. And so this is a really great pattern if you're wanting to learn how to be able to do regular knit stitch, but then add a panel of a different stitch inside of your work. This is a great way to do that. This hat is knit from the bottom up in the round, and it's a written pattern, and it includes photo tutorials as well. I can't recommend her patterns enough if you are trying to learn a new skill. Next up is going to be the Bookstore scarf by Spruce Hill Knits. This was a pattern released last month, September of 2025. You are going to need a US size 8 knitting needle, which is 5 millimeters, and you are going to need 520 yards of yarn, and it is written in one size, well, because it's a scarf. And I chose this one because you are going to learn how to do left and right leaning cables, and you are going to learn a new cable in this one that isn't in any of the other patterns, and that's the horseshoe cable. The horseshoe cable is a lot of fun once you can get your hands to, fiddle around with it. So I also thought that this would be great because you can sit with it. You can say, okay, I want to learn how to do cables, but I don't want to commit to an entire sweater, or I don't want to commit to a hat. So you could actually make it, half the length of a scarf, then seam the ends and turn it into a cowl. Or you could also keep going, knitting forever and ever and ever, and knit it as a scarf. You could also knit several panels of this, seam them together, and you could make a blanket. So this does give you a lot of different options for things that you could make once you got into it. And I think that this is a great way for you to learn how to make an additional type of cable, or learn how to do cables in general without having to commit to an entire piece of clothing in order to get that far. Let's see. All right, 3 left. We're almost done. Next up is going to be the Edgar slipover. And the Edgar slipover is a pattern written by Joanna. I don't want to mess up her last name. It's up there. And this pattern was released in August of 2023. And you are going to need a US size 7 and a US size 10 knitting needle. So this is going to be a quick knit. And you will need between 541 and 902 yards. And I chose this one because it ranges in size from a size extra small to a 5XL, so definitely size inclusive. This pattern is knit in one piece, it's seamless, and it has no sleeves. It's got a V-neck, and it's got some video tutorials. And this one has got some twisted ribbing detail that goes down the side. It's got a split hem, and it has a double folded collar. So you're going to learn all kinds of new techniques in this one. And I thought that this one would be great because you might want to learn how to make, you've made hats, you've made socks, you've made scarves, you've made mittens. You want to dip your toe into clothes. But Sleeve Island is a real thing. I'm currently knitting on a cardigan myself, and I'm almost done with the body, and last night I was like, I really should probably start working on the sleeves now because Sleeve Island is real. However, if you're making a vest, there's no sleeves, so once it's done, it's done. Hallelujah, we can carry on with life and make something else. So I thought that including this slipover was a great way for you to be able to dip your toes into garments, learn a couple of new techniques between the split hem, the double folded collar, and that neat ribbing without getting stuck on Sleeve Island. So there you go. There are no additional notions or anything needed to this. You just need your yarn, your needles, stitch markers, and go. Next up on the list is the Detroit slipover, and this one I chose it because it's a more cropped version and it has some different techniques in it. This pattern was written by Sarah Otteson and was released this past February 2025. You are going to need a US size 4 and a US size 6 knitting needle. And this is another one that's size inclusive that ranges from an extra small all the way to a 4XL. You will need between 547 and 1,137 yards to make this one. It is knit flat, top down, V-neck, and it is going to have buttonholes on the sides. So new stitches that you will learn will be the brioche tuck stitch again. You're going to learn how to make buttonholes, and this has an I-cord edging, and you will learn how to do V-neck shaping. So this one is another one, quick knit, lots of skills that you're going to learn, and this is on my list of things that I would like to make. It's another one that, because it's cropped, I would make it for my younger daughter because that's just her vibe. Last but not least, pattern number 15 is going to be the simple garter stitch slippers. And this is a pattern released by Hannah. Last name, I don't want to mess it up. It's up there. The pattern was released in 2013, and you are going to need a US size 4, which is a 3.5 millimeter knitting needle, in order to make these. You will need between 250 and 350 yards of yarn. Oh, for this one, the additional item that you will need is a crochet hook for seaming. That's how you get that neat line that's across the top. These are knit flat, then seamed with a crochet hook, and it says that there is a seamless cast on in this pattern as well. This would be a great way for you to be able to also learn the marling technique, because you can take 2 strands of yarn and that will give you the weight of worsted. Here in the pattern, they say fingering plus fingering is worsted, but I don't know about you, but no. They'll get you DK, but it won't get you worsted. So you could do a fingering and a DK, or you could do a DK and a light DK and a light DK, and you could probably get a worsted anyway. Regardless, it's a great way if you have 2 strands of thinner weight yarn that you could hold together to achieve a worsted weight yarn, and you could do a marled technique. So that's an additional thing that you can learn how to do. Some people really love marling. I know that Stephen West is a pattern designer who does buckets of marling stuff. I personally, it doesn't give me warm fuzzies, but it is an option. And these are great because if you can use up scrap yarn to make them, like you see in the picture they made, it looks like little patchwork ones where they just did blocks of color. So if you've got some leftover worsted weight yarn from one of the other projects that you've made, you can take all of those leftover bits and make yourself some nice cozy slippers. Those are all 15 of the patterns. I really wanted to create a bundle that wasn't just, here, have some free worsted weight patterns, but was here's some free worsted weight patterns that are going to teach you to do lace and cables and 3 needle bind offs and increases and decreases, and introduce you to garments, and here's how you can make some things for your home or make things for yourself to carry your knitting in with the Pearl Soho bag. I really enjoyed making this pattern roundup, and it just reminded me that there are just so many different skills and techniques out there when it comes to knitting, and every opportunity that we get to learn something new, I'm totally here for it. I hope that you have enjoyed this roundup and that it has inspired you to dip your toes into a new skill or a new technique or a new knitting item, knitting project, whether it's socks or a hat or a scarf, something that you haven't knit before. I hope that this will give you the inspiration, the encouragement that I can do this, because I know that you can. Give these a try. If you do, please let me know in the comments. Friend me on Ravelry. I am on Ravelry as Tiffany Loves Yarn, and I would love to know what you make and how you make it, how you get on with it. If you have any questions, feel free to message me, because I have done all of these things except for brioche. But I've printed the pattern, so it's on the list. And with that, I will end this video here. I hope that you all have a lovely week and happy knitting, and I will talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thanks for watching.